We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please hit the subscribe button. Subscribe to our Rebel Outpost College Football YouTube channel. Open up the notifications, turn them on, smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and your friends. And if you want to support this YouTube Rebel Outpost College Football channel with a donation, hit the $, make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome in everybody. Everybody, even the evil Badgers, even the Hawkeyes, even the Buckeyes, even the Wolverines, even Roll Tide, the Bulldogs, and the Tennessee Volunteers. Welcome in to the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room, with your phone calls later in the show. The season of change has arrived. It looks like it's all rolling down the tracks. It looks like a settlement is going to be official. It looks like everybody's going to sign on the dotted line, even though some people are pushing back. And I don't blame them. The board of directors, I think we'll go through the reporting. I don't even think there was a unanimous vote on that, but it looks like the votes are coming. The Big 12 voted unanimously in favor of going for the settlement, the $2.8 billion in damages. The Big 12 was unanimous. The Big Ten's vote is either later today or tomorrow. The other conferences will follow. I tell you, I get it. I know I'm supposed to be interested in the entire story. I am. I know how important it is to pay for $2.8 billion in damages versus the $20 billion that could have happened if they went to the courts, or $10 billion or $8 billion, whatever. That's important. I get it. But as a football fan, as a college football crazy fan, who loves the pageantry, who loves the history, who loves, the competition. The competition component that's what I'm getting really excited about. I know a lot of people are saying, great. This is going to destroy college football. Salary caps, the growing gap in revenue, no question about it. All that is going to be very impactful. That is what is causing all this mess. But there is some components to this. Possible components. I'm not going to say anything's done until I see it. Until I see the reporting later tonight, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There's a couple components to this. There's one in particular. There's one crucial component that's not getting a lot of reporting, and it has to do with the letter of intent. When a player signs that letter of intent, we're going to get to it. We're going to get to it later in the show. But it is the season of change. We've got a lot to get through. We got a quarterback who's suing the Miami Hurricane, Florida Gators, excuse me. Holy smokes, how did I screw that up? Mr. Rashada. There is a lot to talk about. There is so much to talk about. The next hearing for Florida State is June 18th. The Florida State, if we get some time, and we can make time. We're going to go through Doug Rohan's tweets of today, breaking down the latest Florida State amendment to their complaint. He, of course, Doug Rohan, the lawyer, friend of the program, friend to all of us, who's taught us so much about the pleadings, the proceedings that are going on between Florida State and the ACC. We'll go through his tweets. But it is the sea of change. And I don't know if it's going to, I don't know. Look, this settlement, it very well could be, as you know, how I like to explain it. This could very well go all pear-shaped on everybody. If they don't get further protections against lawsuits, if they don't finally decide on collective bargaining or get some agreement from Congress when it comes to antitrust issues, some codification, if none of those things happen, then this is going to be all for naught. But I'm going to choose to look at some positivity on this. There's one component to this that could change the world, the college football world. And I can't wait to talk about it. Okay, well, there's a lot of it, but there's one part that I think is being underreported. In the impact, I'll give you a little hint. Go to Pete Thamel's tweet on the Ohio coach, the Bobcats, who won the MAC conference title, how many players they lost since they won the MAC championship. Well, there is a chance that whole thing could be changing. There is an opportunity to create some stability in college football. So there's some parts of this I'm very optimistic about. I want to thank everybody who has come on in to the channel. Expedition Greg, Chris Evans, Mr. Georgia Bulldogs, Don Struthers, Mr. Buffalo Richard L. is in the house. Stephen Vitt, Droid 132, Andrew Krill is here. A chat full of legends. You got that right. You've got that right. Chief Fan is in the house. Stephen McNeely, Mr. Terrapin, Randy Taylor, Mr. Monkey Says, Cactus Sombrero. The last time Cactus Sombrero gave this show a call, it was a fantastic phone call, but I can't remember what it was about. I'm sorry, Cactus. It was a great phone call. I remember that. But I can't remember what it was about because the fat guy from Minnesota's memory is completely shot. But hopefully you'll call us again, even possibly today. Remind me what your great phone call was, and then follow that up with another great phone call. Matt Higgins is in the house. Roll Tide. Joaquin Morales. Don't forget to smash the like button. CW2. Joe Z. Dark Moon. Dave B. Jan is in the house. Chad. Lee Go Gators. MGC Sooner is here. Jay Chapman is here. Thomas, Roll Tide for the Canes. KS Bear Fan. Expedition Greg. Michael Uten. Matthew Farmer. ACC really gonna kick schools out? No, I don't believe they are. Boy, no, I don't. Again, there are people out there that expect this to happen, or they think it could happen before SMU, California, and Stanford become members of the ACC conference. Right? Happening in July or happening in August. For a couple of those schools, it's happening. I think for SMU, it's happening July 1st. For Stanford and California, it's happening officially on August 1st or August 2nd. They become members of the ACC. There's a few reasons why I don't think it's going to happen. One of those reasons is because it's just going to bring on more litigation. Florida State is going down the track here at Leon County. They're going against the ACC. They think they've got a case to where they're going to bring down that settlement cost. Why would Florida State get involved in this now? I don't see it. Now, I woke up this morning, took the little general to work, came back home, started working, started making some phone calls, and then I got a direct message from somebody at 6:44 in the morning, Central Time, saying, the Monty Show says Duke is leaving the ACC. Duke is leaving the ACC. So I turn on the Monty Show, and I think his name is Monty, right? He starts off the show by saying, mocking the idea that Duke is leaving the ACC. So he has the show titled, Duke is leaving the ACC. He doesn't put a question mark. He says, Duke is leaving the ACC, and then he mocks the idea that obviously, Duke is not leaving the ACC. But of course, he has his show titled that way. I don't know what these guys, I don't know. I guess they got a click out of me. But why do people do that? I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. But that's a whole nother story. I probably shouldn't have went down that. But I don't get why you title your show something and it's the complete opposite of what you're reporting or what you believe. I don't get it. Bo Weevil's in the house. I do get that. Skaven, yes, is here. Charlie Atwood is in the house. B is here. Chad Bracey. Stephen Clark, the doctor, is in the house. Amazing Blue is here. Caleb Ramirez. Clay Try is here. The Big 12 presidents already voted approval for the settlement. Yep, we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. The Grateful Trojan, Mr. USC. The Trojans are in On3's top 25. We're going to start the monologue. On3, Annie Staples, top 25 rankings after the portal, after the spring football. That's what we're going to start with. USC's in there. USC's in the top 25. The Buckshot Kid is in the house. NE is in the house, yes. Minnesota, we've got some bad weather heading our way. So, if the studio gets blown away, and if we get off the, if I lose you all, it's because a tornado hit us. Now, I'm the fat guy from Minnesota. I don't think I'm going to blow away, but the studio might. So we're going to hang on tight. We're going to do the best we can. Hopefully we'll be okay. Praying for everybody's safety. Curtis Brown is in the house. Me and Mr. Echo Chamber is here. Zach Mock is here. Joe Z, J Go Blue, Ryan Brooks is in the house. Okay, let's get to it. The Sea of Change. We've got a lot to get through here, so let's start. Let's start by talking some football. Let's talk some college football. Annie Staples On3. College football rankings, the top 25. Just missed the top 25. Just missed West Virginia, Texas A&M, Liberty, Kansas, Texas Tech, Louisville, and the evil Wisconsin Badgers. They all just missed Annie Staples On3 top 25. Nebraska, number 25. No, Nebraska hasn't made a bowl game since the 2016 season. Shouldn't we wait until Cornhuskers at least notch a 6-win regular season before ranking them? Nah, the defense will be excellent. The offense probably won't be actively sabotaging the team as it did multiple times. I'm going to agree. I would not have Nebraska as number 25 to start the season. I wouldn't. I would have a West Virginia. I would have a Texas A&M. I might even have the Evil Badgers. I wouldn't have Nebraska at 25, but I do have Nebraska going 8-4. I do think they're going to sneak in the back end of the top 25 by the end of the season. Number 24, Oklahoma. Andy Staples on 3. I don't buy that Oklahoma is going to completely fall apart in its first year in the SEC. I think I would not have Oklahoma in the top 25 either. Close, probably right on the border, but not quite. Look, we're at the start of the season, the Sooners, it's all about that offensive line. We're going to know quickly. We're going to know real soon if that offensive line can compete at the level that it needs to for the Sooners, the battle for the top 4 or 5 spots in the SEC, to possibly be in that large bid in the college football playoffs. We're going to know early about the Sooners, but I won't have them there. The Cowboys I would have here. Oklahoma State. We counted out the Cowboys after South Alabama lost last year. Ollie Gordon carried them to the Big 12 title game. Gordon is back with the quarterback, Alan Bowman, and the schedule is manageable apart from the hellish back-to-back of Utah and Kansas State in late September. That is hellish. That is not good. That is a tough spot in the schedule. But we'll see how the Cowboys do in that part of the schedule. Number 22, as I said, the Grateful Trojans. There is USC. Consider this a bet that Lincoln Riley has learned something about how to create a symbiotic practice environment that also allows his defense to thrive. Riley has never coached a bad offense other than the pandemic year. We're about to find out if Mike Stoops, Alec Grinch's fault, or is it Riley's fault? Anton Lynn, who could coach the defense, came from UCLA. Again, I think this is fine. I think this is a good spot for USC. Number 22, somewhere around there. I think we all can agree we've all got to see to believe it when it comes to the Trojans' defense before we put them up any higher. Now for Iowa, we got to see it to believe it on the offensive side of the ball. Iowa's offense has got to improve for them to be a top 20 team. I know their schedule is very manageable this year. I get it. Their defense is going to be outstanding. We get it. But they can't live on the danger side every single week when it comes to their offense. Staples has them at number 21. New offensive coordinator, Tim Lester, is calling the plays. We'll see what happens. Iowa, the Hawkeyes, number 21. Number 20, Auburn, no way. No way. I don't got Auburn anywhere close to 20. The biggest mistake Hugh Freeze made in year 1 was abdicating play calling duties. I get it. Cam Coleman. I get it. Cam Coleman, the true freshman wide receiver. Everybody's talking about him. But number 20, come on. I don't agree with that. Arizona 19, I would have them even a little bit higher. We assume when Coach Jed Fish left for Washington that much of what made the Wildcats so successful down the stretch last season will leave with him. Instead, T-Mac, Fafita, and Davis, the cornerback, the core group stuck together. So yes, Brett Brennan's first year as the head coach of Arizona Wildcats, he's got a real nice core. I think this is a good spot for Arizona. I would have them ranked a little bit higher. And we will do another top 25. We did one a few months ago. We have torn that up. We're going to redo it again here soon at Peek Around the Corner. Clemson, number 18. I guess this works. I guess I would not have them any higher. would not have them any higher. Coach Dabo Swinney told us at the end of last season to buy Clemson stock. After the Tigers were the only non-service academy team to take 0 transfers, it's difficult to believe Clemson will be much different than last season. And that's how I feel. I don't think Clemson's going to be much different than last year. At one point, I think they were 4-4 last year. As Andy Staples says, they got some elite players. Peter Woods on defense. I don't know, guys. 18 is fine, but I do not see much upside for the Clemson Tigers in 2024. But Dabo Swinney has proven me wrong before, years ago. He can do it again. He can do it again. 17 LSU. The Tigers lost a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and 2 first-round wide receivers, even though they return a talented quarterback who has waited his turn, Nussmeier. The best tackle duo in the nation. We've talked about it. Their left tackle, the right tackle, Campbell and Jones. But even with all that, I don't think their offense is going to be as good this year as it was last year. LSU, number 17. You see what's going on here? You see what's going on here? People are starting to fall in love with my love. North Carolina State. The Wolfpack. 2024. People are starting to fall in love. The Wolfpack found their groove defensively last year. They don't have the quarterback MJ Morris who went to Maryland. They've got Grayson McCall. They got the transfer running back from Duke, Waters. Dave Concepcion, the wide receiver. They got other guys. They got Noah Rogers, transfer from Ohio State Buckeyes. They got Jolly, the great tight end transfer. North Carolina State, number 16. They start the season, or I don't know, maybe it's week 2. September 7th, I think. Whatever. North Carolina State versus Tennessee in Charlotte. That's the game, baby. That's the game that's going to put the Wolfpack on the map for 2024. I am all fired up for NC State. Yes. Replacing Wilson is going to be tough. No question about it. Me versus Echo Chamber. Very good point. Number 15, Utah. The Utes, the bid for the 3rd consecutive Pac-12 title, got derailed before last season. Cam Rising, big time injury. He is back. He is back. But the Utah enters the Big 12 with their quarterback, with their tight end, with the defense returning 70% of his production. Number 15, I think he's a little bit too low. I would have Utah ranked higher. I am going to have Utah ranked higher than number 15. Missouri is another team that I'm going to be ranking higher than On 3. Again, this is On 3's top 25 after the portal. Missouri, at first glance, it seems Missouri lost too much defensively. And we don't know, and the truth is we don't know whether Dre Norwood or Torino Pride can be as effective a cornerback combo as Rackstraw and Abrams Drain. Edge rusher Johnny Walker was the defensive MVP of the Cotton Bowl, but he can disrupt offenses as consistently as first rounder Darius Robinson did. We're going to find out about Johnny Walker. Was it a fluke about the Cotton Bowl? Can he make it happen consistently throughout the 2024 season for the Missouri Tigers? I tell you what, they got the great quarterback Brady Cook, and he is great. And they've got the outstanding Luther Burden at the wideout. Missouri Tigers are going to be a handful. They're going to be an absolute handful. Number 13, Miami. I'm okay with them at being at 13. I'm okay with the Hurricanes being at 13. This is on 3. Andy Staples, top 25. With all the changes, with the additions, I'm okay here. Mario Cristobal has got some pressure. He's got to perform. Miami's got to win those close games. They got to pull out victories, right? End of the fourth quarter. Mario Cristobal has to fix the game management gaffes that have hurt his teams through the years. But his roster building skill in the trenches isn't in doubt. So, Mario Cristobal, it's all up to you, baby. It's all up to you. You've got the players. You've got the thoroughbreds. Can you win that fourth quarter game late in the fourth quarter? Can you win a game in which you've been outgained, outplayed, outclassed, but somehow you pull it out anyways? That's what you got to do if you want to get into the ACC championship game. Number 12, Penn State. Penn State actually finishes in the spot. The fan base would be apoplectic. I don't know, Penn State fans. Again, what Andy Staples is saying is if Penn State finishes 12th, they're out of the playoffs. I am not sure what the Penn State fans' expectations are of this team. In the PATC community, it seems like the Nittany Lion fans are cautiously optimistic, but they're not going out on the tip of their skis this year. I don't know. Penn State, to me, is the team that I got the most wrong last year. So they are a big mystery to me this year. Love their running backs. They're gonna miss their great left tackle. They got the great they got a really good defense, really good linebacker. Tennessee, number 11. They're gonna be playing North Carolina State. I think it's first week in September in Charlotte. Nico, their quarterback. That Tennessee, North Carolina State is going to explain a whole lot to me when that game happens. Kansas State. Now, Andy Staples is falling in love with Kansas State. I tend to fall in love with one or two players every offseason and then rank their teams irrationally high. I do the same thing. I fear that is what has happened here. I'm driving the Avery Johnson bandwagon. The sophomore quarterback is one of the fastest we've seen in years, but he has the arm talent to truly weaponize his feet. Andy Staples is all in on Avery Johnson. He's all in on Kansas State. He's got him in the top 10. Holy smokes. In number 9, Ole Miss, the expectations are sky high, and they should be. The Ole Miss Rebels are going to the playoffs. They're going to be the 3rd, 4th, 5th best team in the SEC. They're going to the playoffs. I think they're going to be better than LSU. Notre Dame, number 8, the Fighting Irish, bring back almost everyone from their great defense of last year. The schedule is soft, according to Andy Staples. The opener is Texas A&M. Big game. They got the new offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, the one who helped Jaden Daniels win a Heisman Trophy last year. Notre Dame, number 8, I've got no problem with that. Florida State, number 7. So many stars are gone from the team that started 13-0 and won the ACC. but the confidence is high that Patrick Payton and Marvin Jones can bring edge pressure similar to what Jared Verse brought, and defensive tackle Darrell Jackson Jr. has been waiting his turn after being denied an NCAA waiver to play last season. He's actually going to play this year. Darrell Jackson, Patrick Payton, Marvin Jones. Expect Alabama transfer Malik Benson to be the frequent target of new quarterback DJ Uiagalelei, who comes from Clemson by the way of Oregon State, who will get to face his former team Clemson on October 5th. Florida State, Clemson, October 5th. Buckle up. Brace for impact. Number 6, Michigan. The great defensive tackles, Grant and Graham. Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, the great defensive tackles. Of course, they got Will Johnson, the lockdown cornerback. The defense is going to be very, very good. But what about that offense? What about Alex Orji, the quarterback? I've got my doubts. I got to be honest with you. I would not have Michigan this high. I would not have Michigan this high. 9, 10, 11, I think that's the spot for them. Number 6, I get it. They're the champs. No question about it. 3-time defending, reigning, undisputed Big Ten champions, national champions. Even their running back, Edwards, he had a great playoffs, great championship game. No question about that. But during the regular season, man, he couldn't get going. And he's going to get the rock. He's at the cover of EA Sports 25. Is there going to be a curse? Is there going to be a curse? Quinn Ewers, Travis Hunter, Donovan Edwards. Is there going to be an EA Sports curse? Let me know in the chat. Number 5, Texas. Steve Sarkisian, Quinn Ewers. They've got a great offensive line. People have been talking about it. The Calvin Banks, Cameron Williams, DJ Campbell, the 2022 class. They're going to score a lot of points again this year. Texas Longhorns, number 5 in the first year in the SEC. Number 5 in the country. Number 4, Oregon, first year in the Big Ten. Dan Lanning has the best roster in the Pac-12 the past 2 seasons and did not win the league. Now he enters the Big Ten with even a better roster. The sky-high expectations. It's time for Oregon to start producing at the level of their talent. Dylan Gabriel gives the Oregon's offense the same kind of steady, accurate presence it had in Bo Nix. Oregon, number 4. Number 3, Alabama. The first-year head coach for the Bama, Kalen DeBoer, coming from Washington. They got Caden Proctor back in the portal. He was at Iowa for a month or so. Alabama is going to be very, very tough this year. I do not think they're going to slide back this year. They're going to be very, very good. But the Georgia Bulldogs, number 2. Number 2. Carson Beck. Unbelievable year last year. You don't have Brock Bowers, but the Stanford transfer tight end, Benjamin Yursick. Go watch tapes of that guy. Go watch tape of the Stanford transfer. Not as big as Brock Bowers, but he's going to be a major target for Carson Beck. Dominic Lovett, Dylan Bell, they're stacked. The Georgia Bulldogs are absolutely stacked in number 1. Ohio State Buckeyes. All the defensive rushers are coming back. Denzel Burke decided to push out the NFL. Caleb Downs from Alabama, the great safety. Will Howard from Kansas State. I'm going to circle back to him in a second. Quinshon Judkins with Travion Henderson. The incredible duo running back. Holy smokes. The Buckeyes, it's all going to be on the offensive line and the quarterback position. Will Howard was successful at Kansas State. That 2022 season, Will Howard was a needle mover for Kansas State. He's going to have to play like that. He's going to even have to elevate his play just a little bit more for the Buckeyes to win the Big Ten and challenge for the national championship. I think he can do it. The Buckeyes, number 1, Georgia, number 2. And as I've said over and over again, I keep do-si-doing those two every single day. I keep switching them 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. Georgia, Bulldogs, the Buckeyes, I believe are clearly the top 2. I see you, Oregon. I see you. I see Oregon. I see Texas. You are right there as well. No question about it. And Alabama, I think, is about 5, 6, 7 in my estimation. On 3 has Alabama number 3. Okay, so that is on 3, top 25. When you give me a phone call or give me a super chat, we'll talk about what you think are your surprise teams that should be in the top 25. What do you disagree with when it comes to Andy Staples on 3, top 25? Give me a phone call later in the show. And we'll talk more. Top 25. Amanda Kristovich, Front Office Sports. The Big 12 presidents have voted unanimously to settle the House versus NCAA. And the 2 other antitrust cases consolidated into the settlement. A source confirms to Front Office Sports. The other votes are coming between now and Thursday. The Big Ten, there's some reports that they could do the vote later today, or they're going to do it tomorrow. Same thing with the SEC, I think it's tomorrow. The settlement agreement they voted on is the original proposal. $2.7 billion. Ross Dellenger is rounding it up to $2.8 billion. The NCAA is going to pay 60%. The power conferences are going to pay 40%. Then going forward, the power conference schools set up the annual revenue distribution to players up to around $20 million per school per year. Like the Big 12, the Big Ten is also considering the original settlement proposal, not the one by Val Ackerman from the Big East. The Big Ten vote should take place today during this live show, so keep your head on a swivel, or it could take place tomorrow. Ross Dellenger, Yahoo Sports. Despite the pushback from non-FBS conferences, the NCAA Board of Directors has approved the recommended funding plan to finance the $2.8 billion. Expected initial 10-year funding plan for the $2.8 billion. This is the back damages. NCAA National Office will pay 41%. Schools will pay the 59% in distribution reduction, which is going to total $1.65 million. On the school distribution, the Power 5 is going to be responsible for 40% of that. 40% of the $1.65 million, which is, that should say $1.65 billion. $1.65 billion. The P5 is responsible for 40% of it, which is $664 million, while the 27 other leagues will pay 60%, $990 million. Over the 10 years, each conference will see NCAA distributions reduced to pay the $2.8 billion in settlement damages. A document obtained by Yahoo Sports offers a range for each league's reductions. Big Ten leads them all, $165 million in reductions, followed by the ACC and then the SEC. So the Big Ten reductions, yearly reductions, is going to total $165 million. For the ACC, it's going to be $155 million. For the SEC, it's going to be $122 million. Now, people might ask, why is the ACC going to be paying more than the SEC in damages? Ross Dellenger answers the question. Why is the ACC paying more than the SEC? The NCAA formula to determine a league's reduction is based on distribution the league has earned. Most NCAA distribution is related to participation in the basketball tournament. The ACC has earned more distribution, so it will endure more reduction. So even when the ACC wins, they lose. The SEC has not had as much total participation in the NCAA tournaments than the ACC. So the SEC is going to be paying less. The Big Ten, that never has a school, doesn't seem like they ever have a school winning the NCAA tournament. But they have so much participation. They always seem to have a school in the Final Four. But they never win it, but they have a lot of participation. The Big Ten is going to be paying the most in reduction. So there it is. It's moving down the track. It looks like it's going to happen. It looks like it's all going to become official. I'm going to tell you what I'm most, again, the two things that I'm looking most at when we get specifics on the settlement. Stephen McNeely, thank you so much. You are an early peak member for the 6th month. Holy smokes. Based on history, Penn State, Notre Dame, and Utah will disappoint before the season ends. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. Penn State, most definitely. Notre Dame, most definitely. Every time they get in a big game, they don't quite get it done in recent history. And Utah, not been able to quite win that big bowl game, but they have been able to win the Pac-12 championship 2 of the last 3 years. But now they're going in the Big 12. It's going to be a very interesting year for the Utah Utes. There's high expectations at Utah. I don't know if the rest of the Big 12 shares those same expectations for the Utah Utes. It's going to be fun to watch. Stephen McNeely, you are officially hereby knighted once again, cloak and dagger. Thank you so much for your incredible generosity to this program, becoming a member for the 6th month. Holy smokes. Now, I want to show you guys something. Hold Hold on. I hope I can find it. Okay, I did find it. Now, a lot of you are going to disagree with me. That's fine. That's cool. Lace me in the chat room. Give me a phone call and tell me how naive I am. There's already somebody upset with me. Don Scruggs says his wife is very upset. She's going to message you just saying Georgia's number one before you feel the wrath. I've got Georgia number one every other day. Tell your wife I am the great flip-flopper of this generation. I flip-flop between Georgia and Ohio State every other day. On even days, I got Ohio State number one. On odd days, I've got Georgia number one. It is 21st. It's an odd day. Today, I have Georgia number one. So that should get me out of trouble. I've got Georgia number one today. I can't help with what Andy Staples has. Okay. I want to show you guys something. And anyways, I just want to show you this. Pete Thamel, a couple hours ago, a portrait of how difficult it is to build a roster outside the P4. Ohio coach Tim Albin, and by the way, I always say this in the spirit of transparency. My cousin has a son who's on the Ohio Bobcats coaching staff. So every time we talk about the Ohio Bobcats, I just mention that. So whatever. I don't want to be accused of anything. The portrait of how difficult it is to build a roster outside the P4, Ohio, the Bobcats, Coach Tim Albin had 21 players from the school's 2022 MAC East title team transfer up or land on a pro roster. 8 players to the Big Ten, 5 to the Big 12, 2 to the ACC, and 6 to various professional leagues. Okay. Let's talk about it. Want to pray for the great people of Ames, Iowa. A tornado is passing south of Ames, Iowa. Praying for the good people of Iowa. Greg, you are naive. No question about it. But listen to me. Listen to me. I think there may be an opportunity here when it comes to roster management for the G5 schools and for the middling schools, which is most of us in the power conferences. When this officially happens, there are 2 things that I'm looking at when it comes to competition. The salary cap, okay. There are going to be some schools that are going to be able to pay up to $20 million, the whole salary cap, and then they're going to have their outside collectives spend even more. That is the case now, and it was the case before it was all legal, right? Bags of cash being passed to recruits in high school. That's one aspect to this. But there's another aspect to all this when it comes to competition. Number one, if the rosters are only 85 scholarship players, if the number isn't going up, if there is no walk-ons, so teams just can't pay for all these walk-ons, if the scholarship is 85 for football rosters, then there is a certain diminishing of return when it comes to the big programs with all the money that they have. Because they only can spend so much on recruiting and creating a roster. So that's one aspect to it. If it looks like, if it becomes official that 85 is a number, no higher than 85, that's good for competition. But here is the other part of it that I think is even more important. And I don't know if it's going to become official. We're going to find out here in the next, tomorrow, tonight, Thursday, Friday. What happens? What happens when a player signs the letter of intent? Is he selling his name, image, and likeness to the university, to the athletic department? When he gets that direct payment within the salary cap of the athletic department, is he signing a contract? Is it a binding contract? When the school is recruiting a player, when the Ohio Bobcats are recruiting a player, when the Liberty Flames are recruiting a player, when the New Mexico State Aggies are recruiting a player, when the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens are recruiting a player, when the Minnesota Golden Gophers are recruiting the player, when the Boise State Broncos are recruiting a player, when the North Carolina State Wolfpack are recruiting a player, is part of the negotiations with the recruiting players, you're going to get this much and you're going to sign for 2, 3, 4 years. And then that recruitment player is going to have options. He's going to look at certain, where does he want to play? Just like now, do I want to play close to home? Do I want to get away from home? Do I want to play for this coach out there? What is my position? How's that program good at development of that position? But how much are they going to pay me? And for how long? Do I want to go 1 year and have my, do I want to bet on myself and just sign for 1 year? Do I want to go 2 years? Do I want to go 3 years? If when you sign the letter of intent, if it's a binding contract, now schools are going to be able to manage the roster when it comes to roster management, roster construction, a whole lot better than they can do now. In other words, if my player's under contract, if it's a binding contract, you can't go over the top and poach my player. I know that my guy, that my developing right tackle is going to be with me for 2 more years. My starting center, the leader of the offensive line, is going to be with me for another year. And then I might come to him and say, boy, you're first team Sunbelt. You are first team Sunbelt. You got 1 more year. I tell you what, we're going to pay you a little bit more if you come back for a year after next year. We're going to offer you an extension. If there is binding contracts at the time when you're a high school recruit or coming in the transfer portal, or if you're on your own team and you can extend them, if there are binding contracts coupled with limited 85-man rosters, then I think this whole thing could work. Then I think competition is going to be a little bit better. Even though some schools are going to be paying more for better coaching, facilities like they always do, and of course the recruiting allotment. But if they're limited to 85, and if you can better handle roster management with binding contracts, then I think we might have some positivity coming out of this. I do not know for sure if there's binding contracts associated with this settlement. I don't know if that's going to be happening later on. I don't know about this NIL, a student athlete selling the NIL to the university? I don't know. Hopefully, in my opinion, there is binding contracts, because that's going to take away the wild west. You're going to be able to, if you find a diamond in the rough, if you develop that football player as a program, it is so much healthier for your football program, for the college football game, that you're able to maintain that player due to his signing on the contract. I think it's going to be better for competition. And in basketball, and in all these sports. But we're focusing on football. Let me know. Wendy Scruggs, bless their little hearts, unless there are laws saying otherwise, those aren't contracts. We shall see. Again, I can't promise anybody a rose garden. I don't know if it's happening. I don't know. But that is what I'm looking out for. If there is binding contracts to this whole new world of college football. Tony, the Big Ten paid out $60 million per school in 2023. Are you saying $20 million is now going to students? How are the athletic departments going to pay for everything else? Well, Tony, in the example of the Big Ten, that is $60 million in conference payouts. That is not the total revenue of your athletic department. Right? So, and plus the Big Ten is increasing their conference payouts by about $30 million starting next year. So the issues of the Big Ten isn't going to be as bad as the other conferences, besides the Big Ten and the SEC, and including some schools in the Big Ten. It's going to be a struggle. I think in Minnesota it's going to be a struggle. But for many Big Ten schools, it's not. For many schools in the SEC, it's not. And pretty much every school in the Big 12 and the ACC, it's going to be a struggle. Hold on one second. I just got a call here. Hold on. Hold on. Okay. Hey guys, I gotta take a phone call. I'm gonna be right back. It has to do with the show. Hold on. Okay. I apologize for that. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. I'm looking at, we're supposed to be getting some settlement news real soon. I do not see it reported yet. And I'm not talking about the Ross Dellenger article that came out an hour ago. It's just more kind of rehash. Keep your head on a swivel during the rest of this live show. We are expecting some more information about the settlement. And I'm not really allowed to say anything until it hits. Just keep your head on a swivel. And I don't know much about what is going to be said. Okay. I found this article to be really good. I'm going to get you phone calls here. If anybody wants to give us a call, I want to give everybody a chance to talk about the settlement and anything else, the top 25, whatever you want to talk about in college football. But I do have to get to this article real quick. Season of Change. The San Diego Union Tribune. These 10 dates starting Thursday is sure to bring more disruption to college sports landscape. This is from John Wilner. From lawsuits and realignment to an Irish opener, here are 10 key days to watch. Thursday, the House settlement deadline. Okay? We know all about that. We've been covering that every single day. The House settlement deadline. Arizona State swimmer, Grand House, $2.8 billion in damages, negotiate a settlement, revolutionize college sports, major football, paying schools to share roughly $20 million annually with athletes. May 30th, a week from this Thursday. Early season kickoff times revealed. At the end of the month, ESPN, Fox, and other networks are scheduled to broadcast games in 2024. Are expected to release the kickoff times for the first 3 weeks of the regular season and any special date Friday games. This is standard fare with a twist. How will the network slot games with the new conference configurations? The hotline, John Wilner, is particularly interested in how many Friday games are assigned to Oregon and Washington. June 30th, the Pac-12 networks go dark. Under the new leadership, based in San Ramon, California, Pac-12 Enterprises will handle home game production demands for Washington State and Oregon State through the 2024-25 season. July 1st, SMU enters the ACC. The SMU, they jump over the wall. They get into a power conference. The Mustangs will become an official member of the ACC July 1st, start of the fiscal year. August 2nd, the Pac-10 schools depart. Official. It becomes official August 2nd. USC, UCLA. They become Big Ten members, and they've got full ownership of their slice of the Big Ten network. Oregon and Washington become Big Ten members. Colorado, Utah, Arizona, Arizona State become Big 12 members. Stanford, California become members of the ACC. August 15th, the ACC membership deadline. Each year, the ACC schools have until the middle of August to inform the conference of their intent to depart the following academic year. Typically, the deadline comes and goes with little notice, but the lawsuits brought up against the ACC by Clemson and Florida State have changed everything. Will the Rebels commit to an ACC membership for the 25-26 school year by the deadline? Will Clemson and Florida State, and I'm going to put a poll in the PATC chat after we read this article. We're almost done. Is Clemson and Florida State going to officially withdraw from the ACC conference before or on August 15th, 2024, so they become a non-member on July 1st, 2025? So get ready to vote on that question. We're going to put it up on the poll. August 15th, August 24th, kickoff, baby. Speaking of Florida State, the Seminoles are involved in the first game of the 2024 season against the Rambling Wreck of Georgia Tech in Ireland. Holy smokes. We're going to be doing a watch party of that game. We're going to be getting up early. It's going to be PATC breakfast. We're going to be doing a watch party. So come join us. Watch the game together. Put down your comments down in real time. We'll open up the phone lines. PATC Ireland, Florida State, Georgia Tech. December 20 to 21st, the expanded college football playoffs. January 27, the House trial date. If there's not a settlement, this is the day that the trial starts. February 2025. ESPN's option on the ACC. The only thing, John Wilner, the Mercury News, the only thing holding the ACC together is a partnership with ESPN that runs through the spring of 2036. However, ESPN has the right to void the final 9 years of the deal and must exercise that option by February. The network's decision likely will be based on the likelihood of Clemson and Florida State remaining in the conference. If ESPN opts out, the ACC goes kaboom! And another massive wave of realignment begins. The season of change. Great article by John Wilner, published here in the San Diego Union Tribune. the 10 dates starting this Thursday. Holy smokes. It is crazy times. It is absolutely crazy times in college football. Kaboom, Batman. 2024 is the last year of the ACC for Florida State. If that is the case, they need to file a notice of withdrawal before August 15th. Will Florida State or Clemson file a notice of withdrawal to ACC on or before August 15th, 2024. This is the poll question. I'm going to put it up for the PATC community. Will Florida State or Clemson file a notice of withdrawal to the ACC on or before August 15th, 2024? The voting begins now. I am a big fan of tacos. No question about it. Big fan of tacos. You're just not going to see cheese on my taco. What did Joe Klatt say yesterday? Tony, let me know in the chat what Joe Klatt said yesterday. The voting is close. We're going to leave it up for a while. Will Florida State or Clemson file a notice of withdrawal to the ACC on or before August 15th, 2024? That's how my wife makes tacos. Now, my wife might chop up some added stuff to put on the tacos. One of them, or eating it separately from the tacos. For example, she might make some tacos, whatever kind of meat, all of her salsas. She makes all types of salsa. Of course, all of it fresh, right? She roasts these tomatillos. If she wants verde salsa. She's got a whole different range of salsas that she makes. If you don't know, my wife grew up in Mexico City. And came here in her late 20s. So, so what she'll do is, whatever kind of meat that is, little bit of pepper, types of different pepper. It could be jalapeno, it could be serrano, whatever. She's got all different type of peppers. Salsa, meat, cilantro, okay, whatever. Then on a little side plate, she's going to have things chopped up. Maybe if she doesn't put the jalapeno on the taco, she might have the jalapeno with certain lime and salt put on them, little chopped up onions, tomato, little bits of tomato, just whatever she does, right? She's putting stuff on, and you might have some white Blanco block cheese that she cuts. Mexican Blanco white cheese, crumbling cheese. But it's not in the taco. Eat it separate from the taco. You don't have this melted cheese in Mexico City tacos. That's not where the flavor is. Anyways, I'm done giving you guys a lecture. The voting, we're going to stop the voting here in 10 seconds. Will Florida State or Clemson file a notice of withdrawal to the ACC on or before August 15th, 2024? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 64% of you say yes. 64% says yes. 36% says no. Very interesting. Almost 2/3 of you believe they're going to file a notice of withdrawal on or before August 15th. Before a settlement, they're just going to go ahead and do it. My vote is no, that they won't. Not on or before August 15th of 24. Not without a settlement. Next year, I will revisit the issue depending on how the court cases are going. But I don't believe they're going to file. So I'm in the minority. I'm in the minority. Avocados on tacos. Yes, my wife likes them. I like avocado. But sometimes she'll chop up the avocado separately and put it on a plate. The thing is my wife makes all certain types of taco, like, it isn't like one kind. Like, and I don't know the name of most of what she makes. So, the best food my favorite meal that my wife makes and my favorite meal that anybody makes is the Little General's chili relleno. The big poblano pepper with this blanco cheese in the middle of the poblano. And then over the top of it is this incredible salsa that she makes. And then there might be some beans that she makes. The poblano pepper, the way my wife makes it, how it's roasted, poblano pepper is unbelievable. And she makes it so she does all this pepper work, but then she puts the cheese in at the very end. So the cheese is warm, the cheese is good, it's in the poblano pepper, but it's not runny. It's not this river of cheese. You go to a restaurant and you go to most of these chain restaurants, Mexican restaurants, you order chili relleno and there's a poblano pepper that is soaked in cheese. Cheese is on top. Cheese is all over the plate. But my wife makes it where the cheese it's still solid. It's warm, it's hot, it's gooey, but it's not running all over the place. And the cheese with the poblano pepper is fantastic. There's no meat in this dish. Just another example. Just another example of why cheese should not be with meat when you're eating food. It is, now some, you can stuff the pepper with some other stuff, but chili relleno is cheese in the poblano pepper. Now the melted cheese, You're just drinking cheese then. That's all. The cheesification of America is one of the greatest conspiracies this country has ever endured, and you don't even know about it. However, let me, since it's obvious that this show has gone pear-shaped here, I'm going to give you more examples of how my cheese have slipped off my cracker. I'm going to give you a name. Remember, 99 Oh, you know what? I did see that. The Friday Fox Big Ten schedule might be released by the end of the week. But if it isn't, it's going to get released real soon after that. But yeah, I did see that, Tony. Thank you. Now, remember, this is 99.99% a college football YouTube channel. And if you're new to it, please hit the subscribe button, open up your notifications. Smash the like button if you like our content. But it is also a 0.001%. We talk about that other subject. Remember, I'm an unidentified Flugarian object. We talk about that other subject about UAPs, UFOs. We don't know what's going on in the skies. We don't know what's going on in the waters. Not everything. We don't understand everything. I'm not saying it's aliens. I'm not saying it's not. But I'm not saying it's aliens. I want you to write down a name. I want you to write down this name. Write it down, and then when we end this live show, that's gone totally pear-shaped, Tuesday, May 21st, then I want you to Google this name. Or I want you to figure out what this guy is saying, or what he just said. Can you do me that favor? And then you can call 911 and send the paddy wagon to the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Colonel Carl Nell. Colonel. The first name is Carl with a K. K-A-R-L. The last name is Nell. N as in Nancy, E as in elephant, L as in love, L as in love. Colonel Carl Nell. Just open up your mind, have a little curiosity. There's news coming out and what he has said, what he is saying. Just give it a look. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, let's open up the phone lines and you guys can all attack me for all of my takes. Greg, what about the cheese they cook in refried beans? I've got no problem with refried beans, and now they don't always cook the cheese on refried beans. I got no problem with cheese. I've got no problem with cheese except when you smother it, when you smother meat with cheese. You're doing yourself a disservice. I love grilled cheese. Grilled cheese is an incredible sandwich. Grilled ham and cheese is disgusting. Carrie Gold knows, thank you so much for your generosity once again, Mr. Seminole. I do appreciate it. No problem with beans and cheese. No problem with dipping my chip into cheese. Carl Nell. Colonel Carl now will open up the phone lines. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. This whole show has absolutely gone pear-shaped. My fault. I do apologize. Lasagna without meat is fantastic. Thank you for the super chat. Give me a 3-cheese lasagna. Beautiful. Put the meat in there and it all goes down. It all goes downhill. Same with pizza. You can get some great cheese pizza with toppings on it. It's beautiful. Put some sausage on there and that sausage goes. Give me a side dish of cheese pizza, and then give me a side dish of Italian sausage. Beautiful Italian sausage. Let me cut it up. Let me bite it. Then I'll take a bite of my pizza. But don't mix the two. Huffer Billy Paul, I can't call because I agree with Greg. Huffer Billy Paul might be the only person that agrees with me. Huffer Billy Paul might be the only person who has been able to isolate themselves and not be brainwashed by this great cheesification conspiracy on the American people. On the American people. The phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. I did see the Ross Dellenger article. It's new since we've gone live. I guess we'll talk about it until we get a phone call. This has not been a healthy process. Julie Rolock, commissioner of the Horizon League. This appears to be a rush process to decide a $1 billion settlement without the correct collaboration with stakeholders who are responsible for $990 million of it. Their argument is simple. The power leagues should be paying a larger portion of the damage payments. And I agree with that. I've said that. Since a wide majority of those payments will be distributed to former Power Conference athletes. So I think it's, I agree. According to legal experts in courts, class certification itself, that is true. An economic report used in the case filing attributes about 90% of the NIL back pay Power 5 football and men's basketball players. So why isn't the Power 5 paying more of the bill? Because they're using their power. They're using their power. It's terrible. What else is in here? A lot of this is a rehash. The case provides injunction relief to 25,000 Division I athletes. Big 12 became the first major conference to authorize settlement. We went through that. Power Conference leaders contend that the formula is fair. The low revenue leagues will almost assuredly decide against participating in the revenue sharing model that may as well feature a new governance structure, enforcement arm, and scholarship concept controlled by the power leagues. I'm definitely not opting in, said one non FBS conference commissioner. Not only can we not share revenue with athletes, but we may be cutting athlete benefits, such as the Alston payments, because of the funding formula. So anyways, I agree. I think there's no doubt in my mind the Power 5 conference schools should be paying a lot more of this bill. Minnesota take cover. Tornado formation has been spotted. No touchdown yet. Keep me updated. I'm in this dark, cavernous studio. If we get hit, Joe Z, thank you so much for your generosity. Cloak and Dagger memory. Joe Z, an original member of Cloak and Dagger, 6 months. You are hereby officially knighted Cloak and Dagger once again. Thank you so much, Joe. I do appreciate your generosity. Great. It's Carl Nell's writings more interesting, in your opinion, in comparison with Admiral Richard Byrd's writing on Operation High Jump Paperclip? I don't know what you're talking about when it comes to Richard Byrd's writing on Operation High Jumper Paperclip. Don't know anything about that. And I want to learn what Carl Nell said in the SALT conference, because that just happened. Great question. I don't know anything about that other thing, though.
Call from
Nitwit.
Nitwit is on the line. The floor is yours. Holy smokes.
Hey, Greg. It's great to be back in the PATC community, man. There's nothing like it.
Beautiful. I appreciate you coming back. Did I kick you out? Was that the problem? Did I say something negative about the Nittany Lions? I might have. I'm not sure.
I'm a little worried about our Nittany Lions this year. You know, it's new coordinators, lack of wide receiver. We're gonna face an uphill battle this year. So, but there's hope because we haven't started playing yet. Right? But I wanted to call in. I know this ACC thing's going on, and you've done an outstanding job with all your live streams, keeping everybody informed of all the changes, everybody's communication and take on it. I guess I got kind of like two questions that keep coming back in my head. So, number one, if you were ESPN, and you are making money on the ACC network, correct?
Yes, you are.
Why would you not renew the contract then? So that's question number one.
Yes, sir.
And question number two, right at this moment, who owns the grant of rights to all the schools in the ACC?
Answer number one, I'm in the minority. I think ESPN is going to pick up the option.
I do too.
Two, the ACC owns the rights to every ACC school.
So it's not ESPN?
Not ESPN, no. ESPN owns the distribution rights, but the ACC owns the media rights.
So the ACC could give the grant of rights to another conference, but ESPN would own the distribution?
No, I don't think that. Now, okay, when I talk about this, I'm talking about what we perceive traditionally what the grant of rights is. I do kind of understand Florida State's argument, Clemson's argument, and I haven't seen the language in the ACC ESPN media rights agreement. So all that being said, everything being even, traditionally the ACC owns those rights, until the contract is finished, right? Until that media contract is finished. And if a school leaves the conference, the ACC would traditionally, the ACC would still own that school's media rights. The media partner would still have the distribution rights of that school. The media company would still produce that school content. They're still making money on advertising. ESPN would give that money, whatever they owe per the media contract, to the ACC. And then the ACC would distribute that money per the ACC bylaws. And since a school that left the conference, they wouldn't get assets, they wouldn't get revenue from that media deal, so it would go to the other ACC schools, traditionally.
Okay. So like Florida State couldn't, I guess what I'm trying to get here, they couldn't notify the ACC that they were leaving. Let's say they go to the SEC.
Yep.
ACC would own all their home games, and it would have to be distributed by ESPN, and all the profits would go to the other schools and not Florida State, right? Because they chose to leave. Is that
okay? Well, now I'm gonna again say this traditionally, because Florida State might have a great case, Clemson might have a great case, but traditionally the belief is that if Florida State left the conference, then they'll be in negotiations with the SEC, and the SEC would say, "Hey, we won't make any money off your home games. No money is coming to us. That money's going to the ACC because they own your grant of rights. So they own your media rights. So try to get your media rights, and maybe you become a value to our conference. But we're not getting any of that ESPN advertisement money when they do your games. All that money's going to the ACC. We're not getting any of it." That would be the SEC's response. So I don't think they would bring in Florida State.
Right. And I think, like I said, I think right now the appetite, at least from my contacts in the Big Ten, and even relationships with Penn State, I think they're what I'm afraid of here is if Florida State, I understand the desperate need to get out, because even before I'm like, you guys got a 4-alarm fire going on here, and you need to get out, because every year you're going to be behind, and it's just going to compound 10 million, 20 million, 30, you know what I mean? But I don't know where they're going to go. I mean, I've heard things through my contacts. I know some people, Penn State, are pretty, they're just trying to adjust to this new schedule and these new teams coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would be voted in on is there a 100% guarantee that would happen?
I have firmly stated nothing is guaranteed at this point.
Right.
Because nobody knows the timing of this. I believe Florida State is going to lead the ACC well before 2036. Okay? I don't know if that's 2028, 2029, 2025, 2026. But I think Florida State is gone at some point. But nobody knows the timing of it. Nobody knows how much it's going to cost. So therefore, you don't know the timing of it. It's impossible for Fox Sports and for the Big Ten presidents. They can have a wish list. They can project. They can kind of, they have valuations of these schools. But the presidents might not even be around. You know how often these presidents change. Fox Sports priorities might, I don't think they will, but their priorities might change. They might say that's enough. We don't know. We do know that Fox Sports wants to go to the Southeast now. We do know that I think there's going to be support for Florida State. I can tell you that. But we don't know the timing of it. So therefore, nothing is guaranteed. So to answer the question, no, we don't know if we're 100% sure that Big Ten will be for expansion. When the opportunity happens, when other schools and the ACC, when the schools can leave with their media rights intact, when they can own them. Nothing's guaranteed.
Right. Right, and so that's what I'm thinking. They're just starting this process now to kind of. I know there's a lot of people out there like, oh, they're going to immediately leave. They're going to win these court hearings, and they're going to, I mean, the problem is I don't know if they'd have a place to go right now. And even if they did win their grant of rights case, who's going to put them in the conference right away? I think the appetite for expansion in the Big Ten is waning. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know the schools are trying to get adjusted to the new schools.
Yeah.
They want to see the season play out, to see what a season looks like with all these new schools in it. Yeah. I don't think adding 2 more schools is. I think that appetite, as they further get away from what happened in the Pac-12, is waning.
My belief is I don't think the appetite. How do I say this? I think the mission is still the mission that the Big Ten, the next time they expand, is going to be in the Southeast. That's where it's going. That's what Fox Sports wants. So I don't think the appetite has waned on it. I think they're going to go to 20 at least with Southeastern schools. And if Notre Dame says yes, of course they take Notre Dame. And I think Florida State is right below North Carolina, and I don't think the Big Ten is going to be able to get North Carolina, but Florida State is right there at the top of the candidates list. But I always preface it by saying nothing is guaranteed because we don't know when Florida State's going to be able to get out with their media rights intact. We don't know when they're going to get out. We don't know if there's going to be a Great Depression and a Great War 18 months from now. We don't know these certain things. There is no standing offer on the table. We don't have any of that happening yet. But Florida State has a great valuation on their side, especially for the Big Ten, especially for Fox Sports. Now,
but I think you and I... Go ahead.
You go ahead.
I think you and I talked about this before. It's almost like no one's solving the problem, which the problem is the ACC signed a contract that has basically been canceled out by a new market. So now it's undervalued. So it just surprises to me that nobody in the ACC is saying, hey, ESPN, we need to renegotiate this now. You can't tell me the ACC is not worth more. And we went down through the games before when I called in. Some of
they're worth more.
Rivalry game. Yeah. Right. I think for me, it's nobody is pushing the ACC to be all right, we're in a new market now, ESPN. You need to pay us more.
But that's where the difficulty comes in. And I've had this explained to me, but I'm not smart enough to understand it completely. But it's like there is a media contract, right? There is a look-in that none of us really know what the language is. But ESPN is a publicly traded company. They're a part of the Disney, umbrella. And when you just don't go in when you have a good contract that's good for you, you don't go and spend. You don't bid against yourself. These media companies don't do that. When they finally get a good deal, they keep on to it. They don't say, oh, we'll just open up the books and give you more money, unless they get something back in return. And I don't know what that would be, but I don't even know if that can even happen.
Well, that's what I mean. Could the ACC go before this renewal in February and be okay, we have this renewal clause here in the contract. I'm sorry, if you're not going to pay us more, then we'll go and find another media partner.
No, they can't because they signed a contract.
So it's
with
just
ESPN.
ESPN can just say no.
No. I think ESPN can say no. We got you distribution rights for at least 2027 with an option to decline. So ESPN's got all this type of power.
Wow.
No, I think this look-in, I think maybe what the ACC can say to ESPN, and now this is speculation on my part, but like the ACC can go to ESPN and say, hey, we only have 8 conference games in the ACC. And we've looked at this issue before, and we've declined it. The ACC schools have declined having more conference games. But you know what, ESPN? We're willing to have a 9th conference game. We're willing to put all our teams at risk when it comes to win-loss records, conference football playoffs. But we're going to need more money out of our Tier 1, Tier 2 contract. So what do you say? A part of this look-in. Now, ESPN is probably going to say no because they said no to SEC when they were talking about having a 9th conference game. But that might be part of a look-in where both sides get some consideration on a new deal. I don't know. That's just...
Right. Well, I tell you what, the power players at Tobacco Road down there,
yeah,
like the real power players, they better do something. Because here's the thing. I'm looking at it from the macro view. This is not good. Like, you've lost – there's these pivotal points, right? Great. And you went through the Pac-12, that pivotal point with Colorado. Yeah. Like, momentous change, right? Once you knew Colorado was leaving, the dominoes were going to fall, and the Pac-12 was gone, and you knew they couldn't get a media deal.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, this is it right here. If you can't renegotiate with ESPN for a bigger deal, you're just advancing the Big Two inevitability. And I don't think the Big Two is going to be healthy for college football because it's going to hurt the people like Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt Duke. It's going to hurt Wake Forest. I mean, you follow college football. Wake Forest had a great
run all of it
for the last –
yes.
Yeah. They're all going to be left behind if the leaders in that conference, because I don't think there's too many teams for a Big Two. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think I might be the first one who said that. There's too many teams out there to just be consolidated into a Big Two. There needs to be a Big Three.
I agree.
The Big 12 and the ACC needs to figure that out.
Yeah.
And if they can't, then we're just going to end up with a Big Two. So, Greg, you know what? I love getting into these conversations. You made me hungry for tacos today. Talking. Your wife must make the greatest tacos I've ever heard. So, God bless you. You take care.
I'm a fat guy from Minnesota, not by accident, my friend. Not by accident.
All right. God bless, Greg.
Okay, you too. Thank you, sir. Great call. Great call. Fantastic call. Greg's wife is who I want cooking for me. At some point, we're going to put out the Little Generals, the college football's Little Generals cookbook. We're going to be working on it at some point.
Call from
JD.
JD, Mr. Seminole, is on the line. Holy smokes. JD, before I let you loose, we did have a poll in the PATC community. The question was, is either Florida State or Clemson going to file a notice of withdrawal before August 15th of 2024? So they're going to be out of the conference on July 1st, 2025. The PATC community voted. 64% of the voters said yes. Clemson or Florida State is going to file a notice of withdrawal. 36% said no. So almost 2/3 of the PATC community is in an agreement with the great JD. The floor is yours, my friend.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. We got bad weather coming on in. but I'm going to stay up here, stay live as long as I possibly can.
Well, stay safe, sir, for sure. Yeah. Prayers to everyone in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
But I was only able to catch part of yesterday's show. It's crazy with work right now. I try to catch as often as I can. I just wanted to let people know I'm not the one blowing up your DMs trying to convince you that FSU's announcing or that they already have an offer. There's some things that
you are not.
There's some things that you and I disagree on, but it's a healthy disagreement, and that's okay. There's no worries.
Absolutely.
As of today, do I think it's a better than 50% chance FSU announces this summer? Yes, I do. Now, that can change. Circumstances can change. And one of them is tied into what you were talking about with your previous caller. You know how I've talked to you, we've talked many times, how I don't think ESPN's going to renew the existing deal. I think there will be a deal with the ACC. I just don't think they renew this one. A contributor on the thread has actually raised this point multiple times, and I forgot, and then they did it again here just in the last couple of days. If ESPN renews this existing deal, they're stuck with Raycom. They're not making a lot of money with the Raycom deal. Mm-hmm. And the ACC is making nothing off their Tier 3 rights. They're making nothing. They get pretty much zero money off their Tier 3 rights. Raycom pays ESPN like $50 million a year, which for a conference and Tier 3 rights, that's not a lot of money. And then Raycom subleases it out to like the CW and so on. But all the games that are being broadcast on the CW, the ACC members don't make anything. And any of those others. So part of the reason that that ESPN, that's been suggested, and this wasn't, I didn't come up with this, other people did, and they're a lot smarter than me, and they've been involved in media contracts, so I'm going to take their word for it. ESPN needs to let all this shake out to see what contract they're going to write, who's going to be under contract. And they don't want the Raycom deal to continue on. If they let this contract expire, start a new one, that arrangement is over. And they don't have to continue that one. You notice how the CW contract arrangement went to 2027? Is that like a 3-year contract that the CW gets to broadcast? So there's a lot to that. The reason I believe FSU, as of right now, announces because they know these things. They know that if FSU and Clemson leave, ESPN will absolutely trigger the composition clause, but I'm not even certain that they're going to have to do that. They may kick the deal down the road an extra year or two, but getting rid of the current deal, getting Raycom out of the picture, which is more or less costing them money versus what they could actually collect, it's just bad business. They would have all tiers of media rights for the ACC. So will ESPN continue to be the media partner for for the ACC moving forward? Yes, they will. I don't doubt that one bit. That Fox is not going to come in and swoop in and try to take those. No, there'll be an arrangement and a deal between the ACC and ESPN, but it won't be this deal. And there's just a lot of moving pieces going on behind the scenes in FSU. From what I can tell, not anything specific in the last week or two, but from what I can tell, there's just a lot of confidence that it's basically a foregone conclusion. I'm not saying a foregone conclusion of what their absolute destination is, but a foregone conclusion that they're basically out per se. The exit hasn't been sent in and the destination hasn't been signed. No paperwork or anything like that. And when you're talking about first-party contacts, I understand what you're saying. I don't believe any of this happens. I don't believe they start the movement. I don't believe they file the lawsuits. I don't believe any of that happens without assurances. And again, assurances aren't binding. Assurances can be made through third parties. Assurances are something where you believe, that you're going to be able to move forward and exit the ACC. So do I believe they have a home waiting ahead of them? Yes, I do.
Yeah, I mean,
do I believe they're going to have?
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's just they have confidence. Florida State and Clemson have confidence. So we believe so does a couple other schools. I'm very particular in the language that I use, and so people, So what happens? I'll just let everybody knows what happens. Sometimes I'm busy or I wake up in the morning or I'm doing something and my phone lights up and I get a whole bunch of comments from people. Florida State has a stand. Florida State has an offer. Florida State has an offer. Florida State has an offer. If they're going to decide to leave and they're going to go to the Big Ten immediately because they have an offer, they have an offer, they have an offer. So what I say is they don't have from everything that we know here at Peek Around the Corner, and there's not going to be any national reporter that's going to ever report and say Florida State has an offer from the SEC or the Big Ten until they relieve themselves from the grant of rights. When I say we don't have an offer, when they don't have an offer, I'm not saying that Florida State won't have a home. I'm not saying they don't have great valuations, really good third-party talks. Absolutely all that is true. But they just don't have an offer. They have not applied. They haven't had those first-party talks. All that stuff needs to happen. Schools need to be cleared and vetted from other conference legal departments, not just the Big Ten, but the SEC. And none of that has happened with Florida State. And nobody has really reported that's happened because it hasn't happened. But there are people out there saying standing offer. They don't have one. There was another point I was going to make, but I forgot. Shoot. Go ahead, JD. I'll try to think of it.
No. I mean, I know from some of our previous conversations, some people might think that you and I disagree, and we don't. It's all about terminology.
Yeah.
And what I consider an offer might not necessarily be what you consider an offer. It's been said through some people in FSU circles that the firms and people that represent FSU, there's a delegation of folks.
Yeah.
They they've been all throughout the Big Ten world. So there's been more than just a wink and a nod. But again, nothing that's going to get anybody. No paper trails, nothing that anybody can get sued over. It's no different than any other scenario. You have to do it through back channels, third party. So I get it, and some people get upset, but I understand why you are trying to clarify, because you do talk to national media. And you do talk to people that are on the inside. You're not a rumor site per se.
No, we're not.
And you're very careful to make sure that you're differentiating yourself between those others. The other rumor sites, hey, they have their place. I want to hear the rumors.
Yeah.
And some people get upset with the rumors. Do I believe teams in the ACC have reached out to the Big 12? I absolutely do. Have they called? Yes, they have. Yeah. Has it gotten any farther along? No. I want to know who's interested in possibly making a jump. I do.
Yeah.
But I know it's just talk. They're not engaged in those type of negotiations where they're about to make an announcement. Yeah. But people get upset sometimes, or people get nervous sometimes when you say that, oh, well, there's no negotiations going on. Well, of course, there's no formal negotiations going on because nobody wants to get sued.
Yep.
But there are landing spots for certain universities, and I believe FSU has a landing spot when they're ready. Do I believe it's most likely the Big Ten? Yes, I do. Is the SEC out of the question? I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah.
But I think it's most likely the Big Ten. But I didn't want people to think I was blowing up your phone and I hadn't been able to call in as much, and I'm not mad at you or anything like that because go ahead.
Two things I want to say before they slip out of my mind. First of all,
okay.
Let me put it to this way: no decision makers from the Big Ten and the SEC have talked with any of the ACC schools beyond getting told that the school would be interested if something should, but there has been no sit down from any decision makers or connected with the decision makers from these conferences with schools that, as of right now, do not own their media rights for many, many, many years. As of right now, number one. But here's the other point. You said it, and other people say it, and I've had off-phone conversations outside of our shows, and people say, and I've had a lot of conversations on X, formerly known as Twitter, and people say, Greg, Florida State would not be doing this, and Clemson would not be doing this without an offer, or without assurances, or without knowing for 100% sure. They wouldn't be doing this without that. You know what? I think they would be. Because people are just because you're in the courts and you're working to drive your leverage to get the settlement number at a number in which you can live with, okay? Just because you get whatever it is, whatever that number is, JD, tell me the number. 250 million, 120 million, whatever that number is. Florida State doesn't have to pay that. They don't, there is not that risk where, okay, they spend a few $1 million on lawyers' fees, but the risk, that the benefit far outweighs the risks on this to go to court. But it ain't like Florida State has to automatically pay that. They're just trying to find the number of what the ACC is willing to do on a deal. Or they're going to get or Florida State gets an outright victory. Or they shatter the ACC. But whatever that landing point, whatever that number is, now Florida State is going to go quickly into deep negotiations with more than one option, because it's going to benefit Florida State to do that. And I think there's going to be I think both parties, the SEC and the Big Ten, are going to be interested in the Florida State, whatever. But they don't have to pay that number if for whatever reason, if we go into a Great Depression, if the Big Ten, I don't know, shatters, whatever happens, if Yellowstone National Park goes eruption and all the weather travels east and the Midwest is crushed, whatever. It isn't like Florida State has to pay the settlement number until they have the landing spot, until it makes it work. You know what I'm saying? So,
I understand. Go ahead.
I think we were told when Florida State was going to file the declaratory statement, right? We said the first quarter 2024, and we said it on December 26, 2022 here at Peek Around the Corner. It happened 9 days before the first quarter. We didn't have the date right about Clemson, but we were told Clemson was going to do it. These schools were going to do this, do it. And part of the reason they did it is, yes, they got positive like you've been saying, JD, they've got positive valuations. There would be interest. There is going to be interest in the Seminoles. No question about it. And there's this other part of it is, it's not like we have to pay the settlement, whatever that number, whatever it lands on, until we know we have a home. So keep that in mind. But go ahead, JD.
No, sir. I agree with what you were saying is that there might be a lot of universities that don't necessarily have to have these assurances for them to act, especially in the situation that the ACC is in. I will say this, and I'm not going to share it on your show, and I'm not going to lead people to believe that you believe this. I'm just saying I know of things that would lead me, and this is my opinion, you're not saying this, that it's further down the road than what a lot of people would want to or would believe, and I'm going to just leave it there. If I end up being wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm not saying anybody's broken broken the law or whatever, or acted in bad faith or anything. It's just there's more. In one of the tip-offs, in other words, I believe that from things that I've known going on for quite an extended period of time. But you also look at the mannerisms. Michael Alford, he is speaking like an athletic director of a team that's about to leave the ACC. Yeah. You look at the ACC, now there's rumors around about maybe they would dump out certain members of the conference to possibly keep the brand programs. That's a semi-desperation because they know the clock is ticking. I just believe that something most likely will happen this summer. Now, if they reach a settlement, and maybe they reach a settlement to stick around for 25, and the number is greatly reduced, I don't know. But just the things that I've heard, it leads me to believe that they want the judges. I think in this next hearing, I had asked Doug Rohan on X earlier today, and I think he was stating that's exactly what FSU is trying to do, is that at some of these upcoming hearings, FSU wants Judge Cooper to hear the motion for declaratory judgment on the grant of rights. You know, when you asked me before what was the advantage of leaving, well, the advantage of leaving this year versus next is one you've already announced. If announcing under the bylaws is important, there's been some people that have stated, and I think it's valid, that if a settlement is reached, the announcement date is irrelevant because it can be whatever it is in the settlement. But following the bylaws, announcing it must be before August 15th. Mm-hmm. Or if you're planning on ESPN triggering the composition clause, then I think FSU has a Board of Trustees meeting, June 20th? And that's before June 30th. I'm not saying that's what happens then. But some of these things start to line up. But they expect, and many expect, that the ACC ESPN contract will be made public this year. So if they announce this summer and the contract is made public or is ruled on, the grant of rights is ruled on, there's a hearing and there's a declaratory judgment reached on what does the grant of rights say for members who've left the conference. What is it? Get a judgment on it. If all that happens in 2024, well, they've already announced, and then they've got 8-9 months to prepare for entry into a new conference. I know maybe that's a little fast. Maybe they stick around the ACC for one more year. There's been other scenarios in play on what they could do if they do go to the Big Ten and it's not available for 2025, but it's 2026. if they have to have a Frankenstein schedule for 1 year, I'm just throwing out, just possibilities. I just think getting out of the ACC sooner rather than later is the desired option. And I don't see the risk, and this is me personally, I don't see the risk announcing this summer if you expect a declaratory judgment on the grant of rights in the fall. You're going to know one way or another. And then at that point, it's either going to be determined that it doesn't apply to you if you're a non-member or an ex-member of the conference, or there's some type of evaluation. Doug was bringing up in some of his comments on Twitter earlier today, I still have a hard time calling it X, that the ACC admitted, well, I'll save that for another phone call, because I know this is on extra long, but I just lean more and more that the ACC does not have the rights to former members once they leave the conference. They don't. There's been other people that have commented that they didn't receive any additional consideration for the 2013 or 2016 grant of rights. So how could they expect FSU or any of the other teams to have to repurchase their rights when they didn't even get any extra consideration for any of those agreements? There's just a lot, but a lot of it's being covered in the filings. So, All right, sir. Thank you so much.
You got it. I do appreciate it. Great call.
Hey, thank you, sir. Talk to you later. All right, thanks.
Eric Ruby, thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you so much for your generosity to the channel, helping us keep the lights on so we continue to have these live shows. The Big 12 back pay settlement agreement will be $825,000 a year per school for 10 years, based on 16 schools. $132 million for the total for the conference paid over the next 10 years. That is correct. 132. I remember that number, reading it earlier in the Ross Dellenger tweet. 132 million. And of course, that's going to be money withheld from the Big 12 schools when it comes to the NCAA tournament and all that stuff. So thank you for the super chat. We're going to close down this live show. I don't know if you can hear it over the mic, but we're getting some rolling thunder here. Some big time thunder noise. I don't think we're in a tornado warning. I'm in northern metro area in Minnesota. I think it's south from us right now, but it is a coming. So we're going to shut it down. I'm going to take the little general. I'm going to lay my fat guy from Minnesota body over her to protect her. The wife and I, we've lived through one. We have already been hit by a tornado in our lifetime, so we don't want to have it happen again. If you look up Rogers, Minnesota tornado, me and the little general were in that. So we don't want to be in that again. So I want to thank everybody for your generosity with the donations to our show. Without those, we can't come on live every day, so I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody in the chat for your incredible comments and your great phone calls. Once again, the season of change is upon us in college football. The settlement looks like it's on the tracks. It's going to happen. And again, I'm looking at that letter of intent. When the student athletes signed the letter of intent, is it going to be a binding contract? Are they going to sell the name, image, and likeness to the athletic department? We shall see. There's a lot that we don't know, and we're going to be finding out more about it in the days and weeks ahead. So here at Peek Around the Corner, college football's Peek Around the Corner. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please make sure before you leave to hit the subscribe button and smash that like button and turn on your notifications, because we can come on live. We might have to go on live again after the tornado whips on through here. We might have to do a live show 3 hours from now. Who knows? So have your notifications turned on to college football's peak around the corner. This is just the start of the week. We still have more big things coming. So keep your head on a swivel, buckle up, and brace for impact. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, 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 you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.